Good afternoon. Are we all settled in? Welcome. This is March 30. This is CALLERLAB convention number, thank you, 42. I knew that. This is the session on musical delivery styles. Our focus today will be on patter, hoedowns. My name is Buddy Weaver. I've been at this for 1 or 2 years. We got into the music business about 1981 and started producing music on my own back in 2003. To my right, Jeannette Staeuble. She comes from Switzerland. Would you take a moment to introduce your own Yes, please.
All right.
Resume.
I'm calling for more than 25 years, about 27, I think. Yeah, calling back in Switzerland and doing also some call education. And I had the hard way to learning actually chanting, and we will talk about that then in a moment.
This is a broad topic, the idea of implementing your vocal style to the music style for patter. And so we're going to try to simplify it as best as we can. The simplest statement I can make as an introductory statement is that every caller should have a firm knowledge, fundamental knowledge of music. That almost goes without saying. It used to go without saying. It has to be said today. Included with the idea of, or the knowledge of music, should be rhythms as a basis. We're not going to get into a lot of it, but I will tell you that we are going to be attacking 2 types of rhythms today. Your general forms of rhythms that you find in hoedown music are what we would refer to as boom-chuck, 2/4, or shuffle rhythms, 4/4. We also implement some of the 6/8 rhythms, but not so much. Today, our focus today is going to be a lot on 2/4 and 4/4. I encourage you to learn more about rhythms because we're not going to be covering that specific topic today. We can go on into talking further about what kind of musical knowledge you need to have in addition to rhythms. I believe, and this is going to be my own personal focus on this, music can be broken down into rhythms as the number 1 thing you need to look at. Number 2, you're going to be looking at the orchestration. What is orchestration? It's the sound, it's the instruments used, it's the melody played, it's the way the melody was put together. It is the feel that you take away from each particular piece of music. And I could cite some examples. We have contemporary style music. Contemporary style music could best, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sample here of what I consider to be a contemporary style hoedown. And this is Love Runs Out. And this is what I consider contemporary in its style. Rhythmically, this is a 4/4 shuffle rhythm. You have no boom-chuck effect to it whatsoever. You would agree that the music you play here, is very similar to what you would hear on the radio. Very contemporary in its style. This is Love Runs Out on Blue Star. To contrast that with something more traditional, which should be like this. Live pickers, live players. Boom chup, boom chup, boom chup, boom chup. That is Giddy Up, also on Blue Star. To go further into orchestration, I would say you can break it down further into the lead instruments. And we're going to start talking a little bit more about this as we get further into it, but I'm going to try to lay for you the foundation so as we can start going into this. Lead instruments are going to be the instrument that plays the actual melody. Every hoedown is a melody. Some folks think, well, the hoedown's name is 1020. No, that's not true. The melody is there. You just don't hear it so much in some cases. Well, we have a strong melody is played. That means that the tune is very obvious to hear. And here is a working example of a piece of music where the tune is obvious to hear. Great hoedown. Could anybody tell for me the tune being played? You Are So Beautiful to Me. By contrast, we can have an orchestration where the lead is not prevalent, in which case we would say that the chords are being played. This is an example of something where chords are being played and you don't hear a lead telling you what the tune is. Can you tell me the name of the hoedown? It's 10:20. Can you tell me the name of the tune? One-way rider, one way down the road. Oh, baby, I'm right beside you everywhere you go. I just sang for you the lead. So this is the difference now when we take a lead out of the piece of music versus the lead being prevalent. Finally, in my opinion, and this is to talk about another form of style or orchestration style, is vocals. And especially when we talk about alternative music, some of them have very strong vocals. The vocals are right out there, and others, the vocals are more blended into the chording. It's less prevalent where the caller is able to speak over the vocals. We're not going to touch too much on that. We will touch a little bit on that as we kind of get into it. Once you can get past, so far, number one, the rhythm, number two, the orchestration, then number three, when we get right down to it, becomes the tempo. The tempo is the speed at which you expect the dancers to move. And I'll repeat that. The tempo is the speed at which you expect the dancers to move. They may not be moving at that speed, but by setting the music tempo at a particular place, you have this great expectation of it. So here is another piece of music. Well, 10:20. Here it is. I expect you to move that fast. It's very important, especially when you get down to shuffle rhythms, because shuffle rhythms tend to be a march rhythm anyway. And when you play them too slow, then you start to lull them into a sense of just walking. They're not even dancing. Likewise, if you play it too fast, they can't keep up to a march rhythm, and they will also just start walking. Have you ever experienced watching dancers as they start out dancing, and after a while they just they walk. They're walking. Anybody here seen that? They just start walking. It's too much shuffle rhythm. It's too much boom, boom, boom. And it's too much boom, 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 boom. I can't walk that fast. I can't dance that fast, but I can stroll along that fast. So once you get through those three items, then we get down to the whole idea of delivering your vocal to the music. So I've just kind of run through the fundamentals of music in the 30-second version of it. The idea on delivering it, number one, must be the calls are heard above anything else. Calls must be heard. We're going to address two different forms of delivery style, one being the chanting style and the second being more the prompting style. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jeannette because she's going to talk about the chanting style.
Yes. Thank you, buddy. Buddy. Thank you, buddy. Maybe in contrary to him, to Buddy, I started calling, couldn't sing at all. I was not good in music at all. I had to learn all these things by a start. I was the one just calling and saying the calls. Just saying head square through, swing through. Because we as callers, we have to keep, beside the musical part, we also have to keep the choreography in mind. And I really did this that way. And do you like to listen to that kind of caller as a dancer? I don't think really. If just saying the words without any enthusiasm, without any rhythm, it doesn't feel like square dance calling. And the first thing, in my opinion, which you need for both delivery styles, is to say the calls in rhythm. For us in overseas, except maybe for Don, who is bilingual, for the others, Germans or Swiss people, who English is another language. So we even have to work harder on saying the calls in 2 beats. And I would like to do an exercise with you. I'm not sure how experienced you are in calling, but I would like to do an exercise with music. You just repeat after me. Let me just put this music on here. Oops, now we have to get it. Okay, the idea is to say the calls in 2 commands. Circle left, right and left through, past the ocean, swing through, spin chain through, recycle. That's the first step in the whole thing, to learn to speak them in rhythm. If I do it without rhythm, let me keep on music. Hit, square through, 4. Right and left through. I can't do it. That's difficult. But a lot of callers do it that way. Maybe you have a caller at home which is not that experienced. Listen to how he or she calls. That's exactly what happens. They do not speak in the rhythm of the music because they are concentrated with anything else. So the best thing to work on that, you take a mainstream list, you stand at home, do that at home. And the choreography is not important at all in that moment, right? Choreography doesn't matter. You just practice now a different thing. Choreography comes later on. When you practice this talking in rhythm, you just take the list, take the music like I did, and also try. I mean, what we have not talked about that yet is about the phrasing. When we start over here, let me just, okay, that's okay. Which beat do you want to dance? Clap when you want to dance. When you want to start, which is the most important beat? That is the beat where the phrase starts. And we as callers also compete a little with the dancers. Because if you dance a grand square, for instance, where should the dancers start this grand square? On that beat 1. So when we have to give our command, talking about the prompting before. Alright, so if the music is coming, comes close, side space, grand square. That's the other part of it. But the main thing is to talk. The first thing is to learn to talk in rhythm. And I think that's about 80% of the whole thing in calling delivery, in my opinion, working with my callers at home. This talking in rhythm. Now the next thing is, it's easier for some callers or the others to find harmony notes. You know, it can see the music again, yeah? Oh, it's okay, I can handle it myself. Kind of. It can be pass through, wheel and deal, touch a quarter, swing through, boy run, and a couple circulate, chain down the line, touch a quarter. You hear the difference? And one thing, I'm just talking, which is important too. Right and left through, pass through, trade. By now already in harmony. That's the other thing. And a way to find this is to finish to the song to the totally end. Let me see what we happen here. I just need the mouse here. Okay. You're getting closer? Yeah, please. I think it was Okay, let's play back a little. Kind of find the last note. Takes a little longer to find it. It's maybe and if you have keep this note, please. Okay, thank you. Keep this note. Yes, now I need you. It works all the time on that note. You can keep talking all the way like a one note Charlie, I think, right? You can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can getting other notes. For us ladies might be different to find other notes. Pass through, but that's still a good note. Now you can find the notes above and below. Pass through, wheel and deal, touch a quarter, swing through, boy, run around a girl, bend the line. Kind of jumping back and forth. And that might be easier if you have some musical experience and you just have the ear for it. I think Buddy, he has the ear for it. He just hears it. Lots of us don't.
Since you invoked my name, I could tell you that when I first started out, I was completely tone deaf. I could not stay in pitch at all. And I can remember family members trying to talk me out of being a caller. It's sad. It's sad. But yet here I am today, right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The concept that she's talking about is the root note, and the root note is usually, as she says, found towards the end of the piece of music. And if I can learn how to call in time with music, then any of you can. Trust me on this. I was a young kid too at the time, so you would think that youth equals talent. Youth just equals good looks. That's all it equals. But beyond that, everything else runs out. The last note that's played often is that your root note. Let's see if we can play this, just to kind of reinforce what Jeanette's talking about. And around the root note, you're really singing on the harmonic note. The lead note here is. I'll sing it for you in a minute, but the harmonic notes, 1 and 3, move it up and move it back. 1 and 3, move it up and move it back. And here's coming to your root note. Da 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 da. Down. That's your harmonic note. That's your root note. That's your da 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 da. Bow to your partner. Bow to your corner. The whole idea is a harmonic note. Walk around the corner, girl, and then seesaw around your own. There's your harmonic note. I'm singing the harmony. I'm not singing the melody. The melody is much different. If I can reach it. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. Dee-da-da-dee-da-da-da-da-da. No need to search and no, he can't be found. Big Daddy's Alabama bound. That's the melody. That's the melodic note. And very few callers sing hash in that way. 1 da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, walk around your corner, girl, and seesaw your own. You join your hand and circle left around the ring. There you do. An alleyman, lift your corner, girl, to right, left, grand. Grand, right, and left around the. It sounds a little bit weird, doesn't it? And you could probably get away with doing that one tip. And I kind of encourage you kind of doing that one tip. I wouldn't do it too much more unless you get paid first. But there's your whole idea on the harmonic note.
Yeah, I think also we have to be very careful with using singing call as patter. Because in a patter, most often, you don't hear that melody so predominant than you do in most of the singing calls. And when you use singing calls as patter, which I think most of us, you do that, right, too? Because there's some really music it fits, but you have to be aware of the fact that patter is different than singing calls. In singing call, you sing the melody. You sing a song with square dance commands. And in patter, you harmonize, use the harmony. So keep that in mind, too. It's different style, kind of. Yeah.
I was just going to say
my own microphone name and where you're from.
when I use a singing call, there are some times where I will go along and they won't know it. And if I get to a right and left ground, I may throw in the singing call as I'm going along to hook on it.
It's a nice little style to do it. By the way, and you are?
I am Mike Driscoll from Minnesota.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, that's showmanship. That's different. I mean, if you don't sing the whole singing call, but you come in and you find, if you do for any reason a grand square in a patter, and you have exactly that moment, the melody, and you can sing it, that's perfect. That's actually how working with the music. But generally, you call the commands in a kind of in a harmony. Let's go ahead to take another song, maybe for that here, another music. Actually, the first one, those who are interested, was, what was it actually? It was BLT from ESP, BLT. Let me start here with the music. Yeah. It's different music you can do. Now, actually, we have maybe go to the root note first to find that note. Does I just jump here? Oh, okay, and I had the loop in, and if I have the loop in, you never find your root note. I actually use the mouse. So now when you start working on chanting, you keep that root note in mind, and you just use, in the beginning you just use boom, 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 boom. You can also start interesting here normally is when you listen to the bass, because the bass is often a harmony line, and the way to go to that is to kind of put the bass much more on, the treble out, and now actually you should. You may hear it easier than I do. Bum, 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 bum. And that is actually the notes you can use when doing patter. So you have now these notes, and the way to start is actually starting with boom boom, and later on, when you've done through that stage, we use counting. With the counting you also emphasize the phrase, which is just a good side effect. You learn, okay, it's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, and so on. Keep working on these notes. And you have to do that at home, not with dancers. And the next thing is to start using calls. And if you use it even on in rhythm and on beat 1 and 4, so you also emphasize again the rhythm of it. So it's kind of, let's start over again. Let's keep going. All right. Let's just the interlude in here. Okay. It's kind of right and left through, past the ocean, swing through, head square through 4, touch a quarter, scoot back. You can kind of work on your way through with that. That is actually the way to work. The first thing on calling in harmony. It's the first part of chanting. The other part to it is if you want to add filler words. There's also a danger with it, because normally at caller schools I attended time ago, you always have to see filler words can become killer words. If you use them not in the phrase also, and also dancers, like what he said, the dancers have to listen to the calls. That's the most important thing. Now even if you come to Europe, the dancers maybe do not speak English, but they know the square dance calls. They listen to the calls, but they don't speak English. So if you talk a lot of things beside the square dance calls, you might get them in trouble, because they have to kind of select the calls out of your whole combination of whatever you are saying in between. So this is the other thing. Still working on filler, or working on kind of on pattern, fill-in patterns actually. I have a handout. So we should have collected that before, I missed that. We'll bring that at the end of the session to you. I'll see that I can get that quickly then at the end. And it's also on the memory stick, where you can read these points. I think you can use to learn chanting. They're written on there. Now, but the way to work on that, it's a good thing is for non-English speaking caller, it's a good also way to practice the own English. So I have actually you have always the phrases have to meter with the music, right? If I do like element left video, left hand, it's 4-beat, right? That meters, that fits to the music. Because we have 4-beat phrases, we counted to 8, it fits. If you do element left with the pretty little corner little lady, we have whatever. You have 5 beats. And that doesn't fit. Okay? So if you do filler, or you use this fill-in patterns, because they sound nice. They sound nice on choreography, which is easy. You should maybe not use that when you go deep into kind of an extended application, complicated choreography. The less filler words you use, the more you stick with the commands, because that's what the dancers need. So there are also places where you can get filler words. Cedar.net. You may know this website, www.cedar.net. He has a lot of patter sayings. He calls them patter sayings. And they especially fit in an element left. They fit on the promenade. Then they sound good. Now you can start practicing it when we call it. It's, for instance, start with bow to the partner corners 2. Bow to the partner corners 2. Bow to the partner corners 2. Bow to the partner, corners 2. Now we change it a little. Bow to the partner, corners 2. Circle left, all 8 of you. Okay, got it? Bow to the partner, corners 2, and circle left, all 8 of you. Alright. Now for all of you who speak English, it's just easy. If I work with that at home with German, it's much more difficult. So we have another one, for instance, you can add in. Actually, you can add them, but they always fit. It's like, bow to the partner, corners 2, circle left, all 8 of you. Okay, then it comes the next one, actually. Okay, it does fit. Well, it's element left video, left hand, partner right, and a right and left grand. That's actually, you can work on that. Element left video, left hand, partner right, and a right and left grand. And this makes you, in my opinion, makes you sound more like a call, especially when you use, we talked about traditional and alternative square dance music. With traditional square dance music, this really fits. When you later go back to the other music, it's a bit different. But do that, and do that in the circle choreography. Don't do it later on with when you call, like when you call modules or call side call, when you call the routines. When you do, then you have to be aware of the fact that the timing is the important thing for the dancers, right? So they have to, if you do any filler words or whatever, it's like swing through without a stop, spin the top, and there's some other ones like that. There always is a danger that the dancers then have to stop because of you still calling filler words instead of square dance commands. So beware of that. And maybe for women callers, it's also important that we stay in the chest voice. If we go in the high voice, especially when I'm not soprano, but maybe some callers have a higher pitch. Thanks. And they actually, I just think it's difficult to listen to a soprano singer doing square dance calls, right? It doesn't fit. So we as women callers have to be aware that we use chest voice. Now if you go to different kind of music and change a little to the, say I started the contemporary? Alternative music?
Modern.
Say again?
Modern.
Modern. Oh, okay, that's good. There are some words in English which are not that easy for a non-English speaking person. If I use that kind of music, I just give commands. Bow to the partners. Corners 2. Circle left. Now element left, right and left grand. But also I compare now with the singer. So I just say the commands. Swing through. Spin the top. Right and left through. Pass the ocean. Recycle. That, if I would start here using like element left video, left hand, the partner right and right, doesn't fit, right? It just doesn't sound right. Yeah, exactly, that too. And it just, there you just use the calls. But still, and that's the point, use the calls in rhythm. It's not speaking. It's calling in rhythm, if possible also in harmony. Swing through. Boy run. Chain down the line. Whatever. Don't listen to the choreography. Now, and really, if you work at home or if you work with a caller who you work with on that part, in that moment, no dancers and the choreography is totally unimportant. The point is they should work on learning to call in rhythm and on harmony. So choreography is a different ball game. I think that's right now. Any questions to that? Yes?
Hi, Tom Rayner from Tokyo. Question, so it's okay to use songs with lyrics in it when you're doing patter?
I think yes, but one thing I realized first in beginner callers, it's better in the beginning to stick with more traditional patter. Or not more traditional, but maybe songs with a good beat, with a good boom check. I'm not sure whether we can, maybe we have a different opinion on that. But we'd stay with a strong beat where the music doesn't get in the way, because I think it's much more difficult, at least for me, to work with this modern music. It's for me easier, as in pattern music, to work with a just traditional or kind of boom check rhythms without any background or different music. But the important thing is what I have to look that the music doesn't the singing doesn't interfere with my voice level or with my. If the singer sings on the real same high, same range than I sing, it might get in the way. So it might be, even for you guys, it might be not, for the man, might be not a problem at all to use female singers, and maybe the other way around. Here, when she is a female singer, but I use this pattern successfully, because I maybe have a lower voice than she has, and this is why it fits. Yeah, you want to jump in and add. Or maybe we want to add something to that.
I'll add to that. The idea of lyrics in the background, that's a matter of personal taste. And since you asked, I'll give you my personal taste. Number one, in my opinion, the music has got to carry itself. If I have to carry that piece of music, which means that if the music is not driving that rhythm, for the dancers to, for me to set down this piece of music, any piece of music, and I want the dancers to just start moving on their own. You're all tapping your feet. Now, if I put a piece of music on and you're standing there like lumps, that means I'm going to have to work to carry that rhythm for folks. And I've got some pieces of music that are on my computer that I think, well, it's a pretty cool piece of music, but it requires a lot of effort to pull it off. I want to see if I can. Here's one I just picked up the other day, and it tracks so slow, and if you speed it up too much, it just doesn't work worth a darn. But if you can get in the groove, it sells great. Very hard to find that rhythm, isn't it? Got to create it. Walk all around the corner, lady. Seesaw your own. Heads move forward, up and you move it back. Past the ocean then. Extend. Swing through. Boy, run around the girl. I'm calling around the singer. Now, to come back to the idea of a music carrying itself, that if I'm coming in there that night and I've had a long, hard day, it kind of depends upon how I'm feeling. I'm getting old, and the older I get, the less I really want to have to work at carrying that piece of music. I want the music to carry me when I get up there. And that being said, I will choose the music accordingly. I also want the rhythm to have a solid feel for the dancers, where it doesn't feel like they're walking, they're trying to dance on the side of a hill with one leg up and one leg down, and it has an awkward feel to it. A lot of times we get so caught up in choosing alternative music just because it uses the term alternative that we forget that the music is here for the dancing purpose. Also, since you asked about lyrics, I'm very careful about what kind of lyrics are in the background. I don't. Maybe it's becoming an older guy. I don't like racy lyrics, and I prefer to have something that has a very positive message that's being put out, because then the dancers are subliminally getting that positive message. I can put on this piece of music here. This is called Voices. This is Ann Lee. You can get this off of Amazon, which is where I got it from, or iTunes. It tracks a little fast for a shuffle rhythm. I'd probably bring it down around here for a shuffle rhythm, which would be like a 122.8 on Square View. A little slow there. Nice steady beat. There's a little bit of a vocal. She pops in and out of here, and everything she's singing in the background really is, there's nothing objectionable to what she's saying in the lyric line. She sings about hearing voices. And it's not the way you think it is, but she doesn't need to be medicated. And if you're going to get into alternative music, as Jeannette pointed out, we talked about chanting as a delivery style. I can chant to this little piece of music. It may not sound that great. Walk around that corner, girl, and then a seesaw around your partner to join hand and circle to the left, around you do a left on a man, and here we go with a right and left, grand, and a right and left, and I got to really work to stay with that beat. And if I fall out, it's a lot more work. Or I can choose to prompt it. Prompting is something we borrow from the old-fashioned contra leaders or round dance cuers. A good round dance cuer will prompt in proper pitch. And there is a difference. You can prompt out of pitch. Head square through 4. Right, left through. Here, left. Ferris wheel. And you do a double passing. And you know what? I see a lot of this. They're looking at the computer screen. Head square through 4. Right and left through. Here, left. Their nose is buried in the computer screen. They're reading their choreography, and they're completely out of touch with the music and completely out of touch with the dancers. If you're going to use alternative music, here is not the place to be puzzle solving your way through choreography. And when I talk about puzzle solving, I'm not speaking for the dancers to solve the puzzle. I'm talking about for the caller to solve the puzzle, because he has not a clue what he's going to call next and how on earth he's going to bring these people back to home. You should be able to use this kind of music while turning around to face the back curtain and call to that curtain. 4-lady chain straight across that ring. Heads to the middle and you come back in. I'm just listening to the music. I know exactly where the dancers are. If I say heads past the ocean, extend, swing through the girl, circulate, boy, trade, boy, run around a girl, I've got him into an in-sequence opposite lady line. Just like that. I can tell you exactly where we are, just like that. I don't need to watch the dancers to sit there and say it. The other thing is when you're going to be delivering to this kind of music, you have to deliver with authority because you're fighting a singer. Now, I want you to hear how she's singing this. Would you say she's asking a question? She's not asking a question. But we have what I've heard a buddy of mine call the yabba dabba doo callers. Heads go up and back, you do. Square through 4. Right or left through. Here left. Ferris wheel. It's a question. It's a question. Ferris wheel, I don't know. You're calling. Tell me. Give me a command. Give me the authority. She's singing with command. She's singing it. Go ahead.
I think this is one lot of female callers, myself included, was kind of guilty of that, because we normally ask questions instead of being the drill sergeant and giving commands. So, and also this, what you just said, I think this is the reason why I recommend for newer callers to start with more the traditional, the typical square dance stuff instead of this very nice, super cool music, but which is very difficult to work with. So, and because the other thing you need to, when you call, is confidence. I mean, that's exactly the other reason why you do these question marks behind and maybe even watch here instead of watching the dancers, is because you feel not confident enough. So this is the other part. And I think Bill Peters once told me, when he was my first caller coach, he said, if you do a mistake, do it proud. So there's no need. You do a mistake. I mean, we callers, we do a mistake. And if you do a mistake, all dancers do it. If you do a mistake as a dancer, it just affects the other 7 people. As a caller, you affect the full floor. Let me add one thing on with the modern music. The problem, let me just, come on. It takes a bit until it starts. It's just if it kind of, come on. Now it starts. Okay, soon. Now it starts soon. Okay, I'll see if we do this differently.
10 more minutes, it'll start.
Yeah, I've not used that for a while. Let me see. Talk about that. Come on.
Great percussion.
And this is actually mainly a downbeat, right? This is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And opposed to that, this is one of the problems, I mean, one of just the characteristics is this 4 boom, 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 4, 4, 4 rhythm. The good thing or the nice thing on the more traditional, the boom chuck rhythm, is that you want to lift your feet as a dancer. And this is typical, right? It has an... check, boom, check, boom, check, boom, check, check, boom, check, and that's what it makes it lively to dance. And if you
the difference between a shuffle rhythm and a boom chuck rhythm is a shuffle rhythm is a leisurely stroll, and a boom chuck rhythm is a brisk walk. That's the effect that you have with the dancers.
And this is why we need, if we plan an evening, we need to change between those two, or find modern music with this upbeat in there. There are a lot of modern music which have that upbeat. And it's just important for the dancers to have that upbeat every once in a while. If you dance a whole night just to the shuffle rhythm, it feels somehow tiring.
It is tiring.
And to avoid that, listen to that too in your music. I just wanted to add on that.
Coming back to the idea of shuffle rhythm too, when you're prompting it, it's important to know not only your choreography, but to know how many beats are involved in a particular call. If I were to give you the call, 4 ladies chain across, how many beats would be involved with that? Thank you. How much would it be for a 4 ladies chain back? It's the same number. Thank you very much. The idea behind prompting, then, you can you have a number of ways to prompt it. You can count your beats out as you're doing it. I'll have to start this. 4 ladies chain, go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Chain back again. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Join hand, circle left. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Element left. Right, left, grand. Count them out. Go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Promenade. Now, you notice I'm not going to count all the way down to 0 or to 1 and then give the next command. I'm giving the command towards the end of my down count. I also like to count down. I use this technique not so much when I'm calling at an open dance because it seems like I don't know how to count, but I use this technique particularly when I'm teaching a class, if I'm teaching beginners. If we're doing a ladies chain across, I'll count it out for them. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Chain back. 8, 7, 6. They now instinctively know what I'm expecting of them. I'm expecting them to do this in 8 counts. I do it when we do chain reaction. Cast a shadow, tally ho, whatever it is. It lets people know that we're kind of condensing it down there. Now, I also give it to you in a form of a command. It's not 4 ladies chain, 8, 7, 6. I'm not asking a question. I'm giving you the answer. Part of giving the answer to, and when we talk about, we're going to talk a little bit more now about delivery style and how you deliver it. We talked about the yabba dabba doo or the scooby dooby doo caller. We're not going to do that. We're going to give the command. One of the best ways you give a command is by standing. I have found it impossible to sit and call. And one of the simplest reasons for it is because I push everything from here up. If I'm out there if I'm out there doing a long weekend or whatever it is, and I get down towards a Sunday, I know instinctively I'm tired. And I know instinctively I'm going to get a little bit lazy. I might get a little bit. I might slouch over just a little bit more. I'm not sleeping on my regular bed. Whatever the case is, whatever I'm crying about that very moment. But I also know that I'm not pushing. And I will sometimes do this. I'll take this hand and I'll put it right here on my stomach. And I'll take my fingers and I'll push as hard as I can right into my stomach. And I know if I'm pushing in, I am not projecting. That is how I know, because this needs to be tightened up. I've heard, I've been asked a question by newer callers. How can I improve my vocal skills? Go to the gym. Work on your abs. Work on your core. When I was in the gym 4 or 5 times a week, I was rock solid. Man, I looked good in the mirror. And I called really good. My calling was really good, even though I wasn't calling perhaps more than maybe about 3 nights in a week. But I could get up there, and instantly I had no problem pushing the voice out from here up. It's only when I decided to get a little bit more into working and chasing a dollar, I got a little looser, shall we say, around the middle area. Now I have to focus more on tightening this up. If you have not heard any of the sessions, here are your open resources now. There have been previous sessions done by Arlen Miller, who's done a great job. Arlen Miller? No, Arlen Hopkins, sorry. And Arlen Hopkins, he's done a great session on vocal. One of the things he'll talk to you about is tightening up from here and pushing the voice. go back and listen to those sessions. It's important. If you cannot deliver from here, if you're just kind of whispering it, because there's a difference between my speaking voice and my commanding voice. And anybody who's talked to me on a one-on-one will know this. I speak differently. But when I'm here in front of you, I'm giving you the presentation voice.
Let me just add something. It's also not a bad thing to go to a voice coach. I myself went for about 10 years to voice coaches because I couldn't carry a tune. It's also important for singing calls, but also for patter or for just calling with the correct way and doing correct breathing. And also what helps when you call and you want to work on projection, because that's what we talked about, is also call for the back square. Or think there's a back square down there, because I talk differently if I talk now to body here, or if I talk to the person back here, over through the wall. Call for the back square, and go for a voice coach. I mean, that's
true. The microphone is a tool, but the tool, like in any trade, if your trade is carpentry and one of your tools is a hammer, the hammer does not swing itself. And if you just simply pick the hammer up and just drop it, it won't drive the nail in. Nor will the screwdriver drive the screw in if you just simply hold it between your finger and your forefinger and your thumb. You actually need to put some effort into operating it, and that's the same thing with the microphone. You need to put the effort in operating your vocal, in tightening this. This is a little audience participation for you right now. I'd like you all to repeat after me. 4 ladies chain. Chain back again. Thank you. Now would you please stand up? Now I'd like you to say this. 4 ladies chain. A little bit clearer. Chain back again. Take your right hand, put it right here at the top part of your stomach. And I want you to take your middle finger and your third finger. I want you to push in. I want you to push in so you can feel how much give you got in there. Some of you are going to be surprised how much feel you've got. But now I want you to push your stomach back out. Push it back out so your fingers got resistance. 4 ladies chain. Chain back again. You feel now you can't possibly ask that as a question. You have to force that voice out of there. And that's what gives you the command to do it. Now we're going to keep going with this now, okay? Bear with me. That's our root note. Our root note is right there. This is Believe on Rhythm, a great piece of music. Our root note's coming up here. You hear that? Ladies chain across, go ladies chain across. Okay, hold that note. You can still hear the note. 4 ladies chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chain back again. Go 8, 6. 4 ladies chain. Go 8, 7, 6. Put your finger down here again now. Chain her back. Go ladies chain. 1, 3, 4, 5. Join hands, circle left, push in, push it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Allemande on the left, push in, grand right on the left, push in. All right, we're going to bring it up from the top one more time. Put your hand right over here and ready from the top with the 4 ladies chain. Ready? 4 ladies chain, go. 4, 2, 3. Chain back again. 4 ladies chain, go. Push harder. Chain back again. There you go. All right. Thank you very much for your participation. Sit down now for just a second. You see what the expectation is of you now. All right. This is not my expectation. This is the expectation of everybody who's dancing with you. By working on these little techniques, it will improve your calling almost instantly. Almost instantly. Is it warm in here or is it just my imagination? Okay. Jeannette, anything else? Okay, then I'm going to kind of wrap some things up here by going back to the very beginning. Are you working on the AC? It's right there in the wall. Right there in the wall. Too far. Cold, cold, cold. Actually, yeah, back. Warmer, warmer. Red hot. It's probably locked. I started off by telling you the fundamentals of music, rhythms. The boom chuck versus the shuffle rhythm. And I'm going to take you through now how I would choose it for a given tip. The first thing I'm going to be choosing, I'm going to say, what am I trying to accomplish on this tip? If I'm going to start out my first dance for the evening, I Probably, I used to lean away from shuffle rhythms, but I lean more towards shuffle rhythms now because the shuffle rhythms tend to have a more accentuated beat. And with an aging dancer population, the hearing goes, but you know what tends not to go is a sense of feel. And if you can differentiate the difference between, if you can tell the difference between a piece of music, for example, like this, versus something like this, you can almost feel the beat. And as an aging dancer population, but also as an aging caller population, and I'm one of the aging caller population, in many cases I need to feel that beat coming at me, because otherwise I'm going to be cranking this thing up, especially if you're using something like this speaker here, a yak stack. You're going to be cranking it up really loud in order to hear the beat. So we have to understand that the shuffle rhythm gives us the option of feeling it, not necessarily hearing it. Hearing it becomes secondary to feeling it. You're going to get that kind of percussive feel out of anything that's been produced this century. It is a modern music. Wade, would you back me up on this? Would you say it is now the thing that every record producer goes out there, and the first thing we want to do is we won't want to make our record sound like it's like a radio play in 1976. We want to make it sound like a radio play in 2015. And this is what you typically hear on the radio, is this kind of percussion. Choosing this kind of percussion, or this kind of percussion, I love this piece of music. It starts out where the beat is not really in your face, but it gets there in a hurry. You're not going to make a mistake on where to step with this. Absolutely not. That's going to be my style. It's going to be a contemporary style. I'm setting the mood for it. I'm not going to be calling a yabba dabba doo tip. I'm not going to be calling a lot of chanting. I'm going to be probably prompting it just a bit more, making sure that the dancers have the first beat of music. Side space grand square. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm completely off. All right, here. Side space grand square. Side space grand square. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can you hear the difference? When I'm with the music, when I'm with the 8-beat musical phrase, 8 beats to the phrase, 8 beats right here is your sentence, 8 times 7 equals your paragraph, or rather 8 times 8 equals a paragraph, and 7 paragraphs equals your entire stanza, is how it is. I'm getting it backwards now. 8 times 8 is your stanza, and then you got that times 7 is your whole song. This is called Love Runs Out, and it's on Blue Star. This is actually a singing call, which I happen to like for a hoedown, and since I know the producer, he doesn't care if I use it for a hoedown. And I actually enjoy singing calls for hoedowns on occasion, because the phrasing is so strong. It tells me where to be, and it tells the dancers where to be. Again, talking about not having to work so hard to make this thing sell. I want the music to sell for me. So my delivery style, walk around the corner, lady, I'm in pitch, seesaw, join hands, circle left around the ring, go moving, ladies in the men's sachet, alley man left, alley man far right, left, boy wheel in, back it up, come on now, dance, slip the clutch, left alley man, grand right, left around the ring, command, in time, in pitch, on the root note, all the way through. And we're dancing along like that. Understanding, too, that when I'm calling, I understand, and I found this out many, many years ago, square dancing is a language. And the square dance language is a rather limited language. When you're speaking to the dancers, I'm going to assume that at some point in your careers you get to call for people other than your home club. Perhaps you're calling at a regional festival. Perhaps you're calling at a fundraising dance. Perhaps you're calling at the national convention. You're calling for a crowd that's different than the folks who are used to you and your idiosyncrasies. That being said, speak the language that they all understand, which is square dancing. If you want to give the command swing through boy run, then say swing through boy run. I was working a festival many years ago. We were overseas, and I had an hour off. Wow, an hour off on a weekend. That was amazing. And I actually went into this balcony area, and I was watching the other caller who came from the States with me, and he was just banging along, and then he dropped all 26 squares at once. I thought, what in the heck did he just say? And I watched him go at it again, and he'd say swing through. Pardon me. It's an Amber Alert. You all got the same Amber Alert. Anyway, I figured out what he was doing. He would say swing through and a gentleman run. And in that audience, nobody knew what a gentleman was. Period. Go.
Keep in mind that for a person who doesn't speak English, gentleman, man, gent, boys are different terms. For you, it's the same because you speak English. It's your native language. For us, we had to learn these 4 different ones. So boys run, maybe man we know, and the other ones.
How about run around that girl?
Yeah, that actually already gets in the way.
What did you want me to do? Yeah. Did you want the boy to run or did you want the girl to run? Yeah. Okay? When we're setting this up, the next thing I touch on briefly is tempo. Tempo changes not only the speed at which the dancers move, but it also changes the pitch of the root note. This is a particular music. This is called Giddy Up. This is also Blue Star Hoedown. I love this piece of music, but it's too fast. It's really too fast for sensible dancing, even at a bumchuck rhythm. And I'll probably bring it down somewhere around here. Okay? Now, you might say, I don't hear much of a difference in there. I really don't hear the difference there, Mr. Weaver. Well, here's what the difference is. It changed the pitch just a bit. Walk around the corner, lady, then they're gonna seesaw around your own. Join hands, circle to the left, go moving around your own. That's a little bit high for me. It's a little bit high. It's a little bit squeaky, and it's a little bit too much of that kind of voice for 5 to 7 minutes, okay? So I'm going to bring it back down here, slow it down just a bit. Walk around the corner, seesaw around your own, join hands, circle to the left around your own, ladies in the men's sachet. Now, I'm calling in a much lower tone, and it's more pleasing to the dancer's ear. If you're the kind of caller who's not aware of this, wake up to this one, because we see this. Dancers are if you're calling in this very high pitch, you're probably going to see a greater number of dancer breakdowns, because you're putting the dancers on edge. They're taking this white knuckle ride with you kind of screeching at them. Then if you bring your vocal tone down, they will relax. They will succeed a little bit more. Question, well, you need you on the microphone, though, please.
Oz, Silicon Valley. I'm a little confused about what you were saying there about slowing down the music affecting the pitch, because I think most of us are using electronic management of music these days, where you're changing the tempo does not change the pitch.
Excellent question. By the way, it's nice to meet you face to face. Hi, I'm Buddy. Nice to meet you. It's an excellent question. I use everything digital media, but I also hit the button labeled E, echo, because it brings down the speed and it brings down the pitch at the same time. I'm not one to slow speed down without slowing pitch down, and then to try to readjust the pitch the other way, because I happen to know that from a production standpoint, you're making too many technical changes to that piece of music on a software of limited capability. If you wanted to make that happen and make it sound good, it would take a much more sophisticated software, and it would take you minutes to process that out so that it didn't sound so processed. And I've been told I'm a little finicky about this kind of thing, but viva la difference. I enjoy being finicky. It bugs me to hear something processed. It bugs the heck out of me when callers are still using records on their computers. I mean to tell you that one right off the bat too. If you're one of those who took your entire record collection out of the basement and decided to put it on your computer, you are doing a huge disservice to yourself as well as your dancers. Go out and get some fresh music on your computer. Even if it's going to be an older boomchuck piece of music, I will pay you $100 now if you can show me how your scratchy old record ran through a software program which took out the click track, which is put in there in the studio for the simple reason that rhythm would knife its way to the back of the hall. I guarantee you, when you're running a software scrubbing program, you're taking that click track completely out of there. And you have now taken one of the best pieces of percussion out of your music. So sorry for the tangent, but music happens to be one of my passions. I strongly encourage you to go on the web, because you can get even the older pieces of music that have been digitally remastered in a professional manner. And the click track is there, and you're not going to hear the accidental clicking and popping, as it were. Jeannette, did you want to add something to that? Okay?
No. The only thing I'd like to add also on tempo, keep in mind on the floor. And keep also in mind the music is produced in different tempos. There are even some songs which were too fast, so you have to listen to the music and check out the tempo. And when then people dance on carpet, or you do a dance with carpet, you might need to slow it down a little bit more. Or if it's very slippery, the others sing the same thing on the other edge. Keep that in mind too. When we're talking about tempo, I think that's important too.
Kind of winding down, what I'm going to say about this is on the idea of chant calling. I like a lot of filler. Filler, I think, adds to the certain feel. We talked about this earlier in orchestration, contemporary music versus more of traditional. This is a very traditional piece of music. This is Up the Creek. This was originally done in 78 RPM shellac back in 1953, and we've digitally remastered this thing. You can't hear any clicking or popping out of it. It has a certain feel to it, and the feel to me is very old-timey square dancing. And I'm not going to come up here and command. I'm going to 1 and 3, up and back, past the darn ocean, extend. That's not the place for it. This is the place where I'm going to throw in a lot more of the filler, and I'm going to put a lot more of the rhymes in there. Okay, so we're going to do something that's going to sound similar to this. Walk all around the corner, girl. See-saw round your pretty little tall joint. Those hands circle you on. They're going to circle to the left and round the room. And out and left on your roll left hand. Partner right or left grand. Cows in the pastures, chicken in the grass. Meet your girl and take her by the hand. Promenade to go round the ring and you get back home and you're gone again. And what are you laughing about? It's free verse. But keep it clean. Keep it clean. Keep it clean. The idea is that it brings a certain feel out, and it drives the people in a particular way. One of those a night, I love to do something like that. I call it the homage to traditional square dancing, which is how I came into it. And I love to do one of those pieces per night. I think it adds to it. But bearing in mind that even though I was chanting my way through, you heard the commands all the way through. I might place a greater vocal emphasis on the command. I might have raised my voice volume up and saying, "Allemande left your corner, girl, right to your partner, right to left grand, every other girl and every other hand, and a needle in the girl, and promenade, go around the ring." That's the idea. If you're going to chant, understand what the dancers need to hear. They don't need to hear birdie in the cage and a rootin' out dough and a chicken in the bread pan kicking out dough and all that stuff. They need to hear the do-sa-do and swing and all those little commands. Before we get too far along, because we're ready to wrap it up, questions from the gallery. Comments from the gallery. How about applause from the gallery? A nice round of applause for Jeannette Staeuble, who's done a wonderful job. She has handouts. We'll have handouts for you here. I'm Buddy Weaver. I'm just so happy to be here with you kids. Thanks very much. This has been our presentation on musical delivery style. You are now dismissed for your beverage break.